All right, then he goes on to say that he has one final point here, and that Peterson defends the view that there would still be an ethical truth, even if impossibly, God did not exist. And I think we even said it too. This seems to be a thing that she must do, must talk about, but also this seems to really undercut your point. So he's saying that although she would say that this would be an impoverished world because we could not reach our proper end of union with God, and because in a situation of scarcity we would need to work against one another, and because we would not have divine assistance to lead a good life. But he says that his position, like Elizabeth Anscombe's, is that there would not be a moral obligation at all, because there would be no final divine obligator. So without God, what moral obligation do you have? It would have to be just kind of baked into your nature at the start. A star explodes, it rains on the rocks for millions of years, lightning strikes it, you form into a single cell into multicell into the fish gets out, walks, it goes into the woods, becomes a cow, walks back into the ocean, becomes a whale, and then, monkeys into human-like beings, then man, and then boom, all of a sudden, now you have moral obligation, and you must do all these things in order to be a correct man, monkey, human. But why is that the case? There's no endpoint. You wink off into existence, and that's the end of it. Nothing to be cared about. There's no divine justice in the end. There's no divine moral obligator to say you must do these things, or else to be, to live, to exist, to continue to live well. These are just then choices that you make, and maybe not even choices at that point. It may just be strict obligations of nature and fizzing chemicals. And so I think this is a big point in his favor, especially against her view, where she makes even if God didn't exist, we would still have moral obligations. And he says, well, that doesn't seem to be the case, because there's no divine obligator of those moral choices. There's no.
In other words, there's no ground for morality, right? There's no basis for it,
right?
Without a divine obligator, as he says.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that people couldn't be good or whatever. They would be doing actions,
right?
We would have to just attribute based on whatever,
right.
But there would be no grounds for moral obligation without a divine obligator, at least no ultimate grounds.
Right. And so for Peterson, her critique of virtue ethics was that it didn't have grounding. And now John Hare's divine command theorist perspective says that Peterson's natural law perspective doesn't have a grounds for these moral behaviors. So maybe the next one we'll find out. Prophetic ethics says that divine command doesn't have grounds for itself. But we'll see if that trend continues here. But this is the end of the critique of John Hare's perspective.